Welcome back! Today we're continuing our study of Monkey, Arthur Waley's abridgment of the much longer and more complex Journey to the West by Wu Cheng'en. And in our episode today, we're going to be looking at chapters 13 through 15 and talking both about journeys and about moral development. So when we last left off, our hero, Tripitaka, has just started out on his journey. And he's got a couple of buddies with him, and they're all on their journey, and he's riding on his horse, and he's heading out into the west to India to retrieve the great vehicle scriptures, the Tripitaka, and bring them back to China to help save the souls of the people of China. As we look at this text, remember that I'm no expert, just a real big fan of this work. And as I see Tripitaka beginning his journey, I can't help but think about the kinds of criticism that talk about hero journeys. Specifically, the hero's journey, which is the big idea of Joseph Campbell. A lot of people really like Joseph Campbell and his way of looking at literature. He's interested in hero stories, the way we take a character, make that character a protagonist, and then make that character undergo a series of trials to help the character to grow. Campbell suggests that all of our stories, throughout time, history, and culture, have all really been reflections of the same pattern. And it's an interesting idea. Within this story, we have a character who is awakened to a need, usually pushed by an older, wiser character. Often he's given some sort of special tool or equipment to do this job, and then he sets out into a world beyond his comfort zone, where he faces many trials. The first, usually he fails, but then as he grows and is strengthened, he ultimately comes face to face with the greatest trial of all. Joseph Campbell, in his theory, had several steps that he mapped through all kinds of stories from many different locations in the world, because he's interested in the universality of storytelling. Could we apply Joseph Campbell's theories to Monkey or Journey to the West? Absolutely. And with some interesting results. As we continue reading this book, I want to continue to remind you both that this book is deeply cultural and reflects fascinating aspects of China in the time and place that it was written, but also that it is a human story, and that in that it is universal and applies to all of us. I talk about the steps of Joseph Campbell's theory in another video, and if you'd like to, you can click on the card, or you can click on the link down in my description. Now let's look at what happens as Tripitaka begins his journey. So Tripitaka has just begun his journey, and he's just really in the opening stages of it, when all of a sudden, out jumps a bunch of ogres. Oh no! And they capture Tripitaka, and they eat all of his friends and leave him tied up, saying that they'll eat him later. Poor, poor, pitiful Tripitaka. He's just begun his journey, and already it's way too much for him. This is what Joseph Campbell might call a belly of the whale experience. That first initial experience in the world outside of your comfort zone, which just is way too much and completely overwhelming. Tripitaka is lying there feeling helpless and hopeless when all of a sudden appears an old man who's actually the planet Venus, here to set him free and rescue him. The planet Venus doesn't reveal himself until after he disappears, but he leaves Tripitaka a note saying that Tripitaka will have help from heaven on his journey, so he doesn't need to worry. He's got divine support. And so Tripitaka heads out again, this time alone with no more disciples, when all of a sudden he runs into a huge bunch of wild animals. Snakes and a giant scorpion thing and tigers. And he's absolutely terrified when in comes a friendly hunter who comes to his rescue. "I'll save you." And the hunter fights a tiger. It's a really difficult match, and it goes on for a really long time, like hours. But finally, the hunter beats the tiger and takes the meat back to his home, and takes Tripitaka home to give him some food and lodging. Tripitaka thanks them. Of course, he's vegetarian, so he doesn't eat the meat, but they make him a salad. And then, in repayment, he prays for the hunter's departed father to help his soul move on. Thanks. The hunter the next day leads him on to the borderlands. Of course, the hunter can't go on beyond the boundary, and he says, "Here's where I leave you." And Tripitaka is horrified, because he doesn't know how to go on alone. "Don't make me go on alone!" When all of a sudden they hear a voice! The master has come! Who is it? It's So Kong, the Monkey King, under the mountain. And he speaks from under the mountain to Tripitaka and says, "Hey, remove the seal, and I will follow you and be your disciple and help you. Kuan Yin sent me here." And so Tripitaka goes to the top of the mountain and removes the seal, Om Mani Padme Hum. And Monkey is free, and he breaks free of the rocks, and now he will be a disciple for Tripitaka. And so they begin their journey. Do. Shortly thereafter, there's another tiger. Brawr! And Monkey kills the tiger with one hit. It's not very hard for Monkey to kill a tiger. Tripitaka says, wow, the hunter took like hours to kill a tiger, and you kill him with one hit. And Monkey said, yep, and I'm going to turn him into my pants. And so he skins the tiger and makes tiger skin pants, which are kind of iconic. Later that evening, he also sews one of Tripitaka's cast-off shirts together and makes this apron out of the tiger skin and the shirt of Tripitaka's. They continue on their journey and things are going well until they run into some ruffians who want to rob them. No, no, says Tripitaka, but Monkey asks what their names are. The first of us is called Eye That Sees and Delights. The second, Ear That Hears and is Angry. The third, Nose That Smells and Covets. The fourth, Tongue That Tastes and Desires. The fifth, Mind That Conceives and Lusts. The sixth, Body That Supports and Suffers. Huh, these sound like interesting names, especially considering what we know about Buddhism. If we want to get all kinds of symbolic and allegorical, it's really important that Tripitaka get away from these ruffians, because these ruffians represent the things that will keep him from becoming a true Buddhist and achieving enlightenment. And so, Monkey does him a favor and beats all their brains in. But Tripitaka is really disturbed by this, saying, hey, you didn't have to kill them, you could have just turned them over to the authorities. Why didn't you do that? Bad, Monkey, bad! And Monkey's so angry that he's being chastised like this after doing his master a good turn that he says, fine, I'm off, I'm not coming back, see ya, poof! And he flies away, leaving Tripitaka all alone. Tripitaka tries to go on his own, helpless and alone, but before long he runs into an old woman who says, how are you going to get all the way to India by yourself? Surely you have some disciples to help you. And Tripitaka said, yeah, I had one, but I talked to him too harshly and he ran away. And the old woman gives him a special cap and cloak and says, make him wear this cap and cloak, and then when he disobeys, say the spell and all your problems will be resolved. And so Tripitaka says, okay. Meanwhile, Monkey has flown to visit a Dragon King, and they take tea together, and the Dragon King says, I thought I heard you were going to India. And Monkey says, yeah, I was, but I just quit. I've already given up on the path to redemption because it was hard. And the dragon tells a story about a monk who keeps throwing his shoe down. And it's a story about patience, and it teaches Monkey he needs to be more patient, and he needs to fly back to his master. So, whoosh, he flies away back to Tripitaka. I'm back! Whoop! I'm back! To Scale. Where did you go all this time while I was all alone? Oh, I just took tea with the dragon of the Eastern Ocean. What? That's impossible! That's too far away! No, it isn't, because I can cloud hop! Okay. So then, Tripitaka asks Monkey if he will get some snacks out of the bag for him. And so Monkey reaches in the bag, and what does he find but this amazing hat and cloak? And Tripitaka says, oh yes, that cap and cloak I've had since I was a kid. If you put them on, it can make you able to recite scriptures without having to work at it. And Monkey goes, awesome, I'm putting them on. And so he puts them on. Just then, Tripitaka begins to recite the scripture. And when he does so, the cap vanishes, and on Monkey's head there is the circlet squeezing his head. Ah! And every time Monkey tries to get it off, Tripitaka just says the spell and it squeezes Monkey's head more. And when Monkey tries to attack Tripitaka, Tripitaka just says the spell and it squeezes Monkey's head more, until finally Monkey gives up and decides that he is going to go along and be a good monkey. He, after all, cannot remove the fillet from his head. And so you will very frequently see Monkey depicted with the circlet on his head. They continue on until they come to Eagle Grief Stream, where, as they are standing beside the stream, suddenly a dragon pops out of the river. And it eats Tripitaka's horse. Tripitaka is helpless and hopeless, and he begins to cry again. I can't go on without my horse. So Monkey has to say, well, I'll fight the dragon and get your horse back. And so Monkey and the dragon go at it and they fight. So after Monkey and the dragon fight for a while, the dragon goes and hides, and Monkey is very frustrated because he needs to get that horse back, but he can't get the dragon. So he summons all the deities that are in the general vicinity and says, you guys need to help me out here. They note that the dragon knows Kuan Yin, and so maybe he should go talk to the Bodhisattva Kuan Yin if he needs some help with the dragon. So Monkey thinks that's the good idea, and so he flies off to Bodhisattva and says, hey, there's a dragon sitting over here, and it ate Tripitaka's horse, and we don't know what to do about it, and you need to come over here and take care of things. So Kuan Yin does. She comes back and she sees the dragon. And it's the same dragon that she put here in the first place, who's supposed to be here to help Tripitaka, not to get in his way. Maybe if you had just told the dragon that you're actually disciples going on a journey to India to get the scriptures, he would have known and he would have joined you. Oops. So Kuan Yin magically transforms the dragon into a white horse. Poof! And the white horse then is going to be the horse that Tripitaka will ride on his way to India. And since it's a magical dragon horse, it's really, really tough and won't die on the way. The dragon horse doesn't say much else throughout the rest of the story. In fact, he's rather silent and quiet. There is one episode, which is not included in Arthur Waley's edition, which really tells a whole lot more about his backstory, but for the most part, the dragon horse just kind of goes along and acts like a horse. Just a really tough, mostly indestructible horse. Yay! Now I have my horse back! Monkey thanks the Bodhisattva, but he also says, hey, this job is super hard. Tripitaka is a colossal wimp. And if he's gonna cry at everything, and if every time I come into some obstacle, he's in terrible danger, I don't know if I can do this job. This is interesting, because Monkey is nearly indestructible. He is incredibly powerful. He beat up all those guys in heaven all that time ago, and he never seems to be able to run out of energy. And yet, he feels like this is a job that's too big even for him. It's not so much getting to India that's a problem. He can do that. It's keeping Tripitaka alive. How's he gonna do that? But Kuan Yin tells him that he will have plenty of help, and if that's not enough, here are 3 magical golden hairs, which Monkey can put on that he can use in case of emergency. Did I mention that he can already take any of his hairs and magically transform it into basically anything, including a complete replica of himself? So like he can duplicate himself almost an infinite number of times, and make a whole army of monkeys. And yet he can't get Tripitaka alive to India. It just goes to show you how very weak and fragile Tripitaka is. And so that brings us to the end of today's story. I want to point out one more thing, and that is about moral development. Now, in a lot of journey stories, especially spiritual journeys, we expect our characters to show moral growth throughout that story. How do we feel about our characters so far? How about Monkey? How about Tripitaka? Now we're interested in the characters having the opportunity for redemption, and we want to see their spiritual growth to the point that they overcome their past and be redeemed in the process. But our characters definitely need a lot of growth. Look at Monkey particularly. What motivates him at this point? Oftentimes when I'm studying this book with my students, I look at Kohlberg's theory of moral development at this point. It has 6 stages spread across pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional morality. Basically, he's saying that some people have a very underdeveloped moral sense. Other people have the norm, the average moral sense, and some people have sort of a higher morality. People who have a very immature morality tend to fall into one of 2 categories. Either they are motivated by avoiding pain, or they're motivated by a reward. Punishment and reward. Those are immature reasons to do good in life. Then we have the conventional or normal morality. These people are motivated by the rules. That's the way things are done. They're also motivated by a desire to please those over them. My father, my boss, authority figures will respect me more if I do things this way. Finally, we have the post-conventional morality, or the more advanced and mature morality. Moral decisions in this category happen because people are doing something for the good of humanity and others, even if it's beyond the rules jurisdiction. Or because of some higher sense of moral good that goes above and beyond the rules. Where would you see Monkey falling? We might notice that one of the only reasons he's doing good is because he gets punishment otherwise. His head will be squeezed. That doesn't seem especially mature. He also was very quick to abandon Tripitaka at the beginning here. And he's somewhat slow to listen to his master at first. How about Tripitaka himself? How moral is he? Well, we might back up a little bit and look at what we've seen of him previously. First of all, we saw how noble he was saving his family. Looking back in chapter 12 at the moment when Tripitaka, or Sansang, is selected as the speaker for the Mass, let's see how he's described here. The next thing to think about was the general Mass for the dead that the Emperor had promised to celebrate. Priests of particular learning and piety were collected from all over China and asked to sit in solemn congregation and select from among their number one whose outstanding holiness befitted him to take charge of the ceremonies. So, from the group of the most particularly learned and pious monks of all China, he is the one who has the most outstanding holiness. And when selected, the Emperor says, "The choice is a good one. I have heard of this priest, and it is certain that he is a man of high virtue and great powers of concentration." He's very virtuous, and he's got excellent concentration, which is important for meditation and other religious practices. Wow! Tripitaka is the best priest in all of China! Does that mean he's already at the top of the moral bar and has nowhere to grow? Well, we might also look back at his track record on this journey so far. First of all, at every single obstacle so far, he's cried and given up. Even though he's already been told that heaven is going to be watching his every step and protecting him, and even though he has an all-powerful monkey who is protecting him, he's very quick to give up and weep at any sort of obstacle. Seems like he needs a little bit more spine before he gets there. Also, we see the way he keeps his own moral code. In chapter 14, he takes 2 occasions to try to teach Monkey an important lesson. The first is right after Monkey kills all of the robbers. Tripitaka says, "I am very sorry to hear it. One has no right to kill robbers, however violent and wicked they may be. The most one may do is to bring them before a magistrate. It would have been quite enough in this case if you had driven them away. Why kill them? You have behaved with a cruelty that ill becomes one of your sacred calling." "If I had not killed them," said Monkey, "they would have killed you." "A priest," said Tripitaka, "should be ready to die rather than commit acts of violence." Tripitaka's first rule that he teaches Monkey is that a priest should be ready to die rather than commit acts of violence. Near the end of chapter 14, Tripitaka again teaches Monkey a lesson. This is when he thinks Monkey has lied about having flown off to the Eastern Sea to drink tea with the Dragon King. He doesn't know that Monkey can actually do that because Monkey is powerful enough. So Tripitaka says, "Now Monkey, priests must always be careful to tell the truth." So, a priest must be ready to die rather than commit acts of violence, and a priest must always tell the truth. 2 rules that he teaches Monkey here. Right at that point, Monkey finds the hat in his bag, and what does Tripitaka say to him? "Oh, I've had that hat since I was a child. It's a magical hat that helps you recite scriptures." How long has he had that hat? Approximately 5 minutes since Kuan Yin gave it to him, which means what he just said is a lie. But I thought priests must always tell the truth. Immediately after that, when Monkey puts on the hat, Tripitaka begins to recite the spell that horribly squeezes Monkey's head. Monkey is in intense pain, and Tripitaka is inflicting that pain upon them. What do you call it when somebody inflicts pain on someone else? Oh, violence maybe? So Tripitaka is both violent and a liar, right after teaching Monkey that a priest must be ready to die rather than commit acts of violence, and must never tell lies. Or what about at the end of chapter 12, when the Emperor's like, "Have a glass of wine," and Tripitaka says, "No, it's against my religion to drink wine." And the Emperor says, "Nah, make an exception for me, bud." And what does Tripitaka do? He makes an exception to his moral code. What are we supposed to take from that? Is it okay to break your own moral code? To go back on the rules you've just been trying to teach to somebody else? Do we think that Tripitaka has room for moral growth? These are all questions that are definitely worth pondering. And so, as our characters continue, keep an eye on their moral development. Are they going to grow into the kind of people who are going to be good enough to carry the scriptures back? Be the spiritual heroes to actually save the people of China. It's something that we're going to have to keep our eyes on. Thanks for watching. You can click to subscribe or watch another video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.